is the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast, brought to you by Thankfully GAMSAT. We're here to teach you how to smash the GAMSAT, get into medicine, and become a flippin' great doctor. Welcome back to the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast. Our guest today is Louise Ledbrook. Louise is the creator of the New Rules Method and has spent 20 years helping people perform at their best in demanding careers, but without the burnout. So if you're studying for the GAMSAT while you're juggling shift work, family, maybe placements, or like a lot of people, a full-time job, you will know that this season, just really requires a lot of long hours, a lot of sacrifice, a whole lot of grit. So Louise is not about avoiding hard work. She's just really about helping you manage the pressure, protect your energy, and to perform at your best so that you can make it through this super intense chapter of your life that is the GAMSAT, but actually come out the other side super strong. So I am so excited to have you here, Louise. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here as well. So thanks for having me.
So I'm just going to dive straight in. I've got a whole ton of questions, but what I suspect is going to happen is that we'll go on tangents and we'll go here and we'll go there. But I just have so much that I want to pull out of your brain for our listeners. So let's start with the juggle, because so many GAMSAT students are juggling work and study and family. What do you think is the biggest mistake that people make during this super intense period of work?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things is the way we think about the juggle at that point in time. We think it's just that the juggle is going to get a bit more intense, right? So we go, life is a juggle every day, right? We've got family, we've got work. And so we're like, I can juggle. I'm just going to add another ball to the juggling. You're like, yeah, but life is like juggling. Think of you've learned to juggle 3 nice, beautiful, round orange balls, and that's your life, right? So you're juggling life. Adding the GAMSAT in is not like adding one extra ball into that. It's like starting to juggle flames and knives, it's
That's how it feels.
Right? And so it's not as simple as adding another ball into the juggle. It's adding an extra layer of complexity, so we have to treat it that way. If we think of it as just an extra thing to juggle, we're oversimplifying it. And so we don't prepare our lives and ourselves for that season appropriately. Because if you're going to start going from juggling balls to juggling knives and flames, you're going to be prepared, right? You're going to ease your way in. You're going to put certain things in place to make sure that you can manage that sort of juggling expertise. It's not that simple. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes I see, is that we just think of it, we oversimplify the juggle at that point in time, and we really need to be thinking about the complexity of that season on a bigger scale than we probably are.
So then when you've done things like this, because I know you did have a Bachelor of IT, you've done an MBA, and you were doing all that whilst living with chronic fatigue. So that's no small feat. What do you think did you fall into that trap of oversimplifying, or what would you maybe do differently?
Yeah, absolutely. I fell into the trap. I didn't know any different.
It's kind of good to know. It makes me feel a little bit better. And I'm sure that other people are feeling this is kind of normal, but also
it is normal. I think that let's normalize it, because it is 100% normal. Nobody taught me to consider the situation any different. In GAMSAT exam season, whatever it is that you're going through, it's a different level of pressure. It's a different level of cognitive load than normal life. It's not the same as just all of a sudden you've got an extra task to do. No, this is everything that you normally have to do, you need to double your energy budget. And so that's a big thing that no one ever taught me, is you actually have an energy budget. And so you need to really think about where you distribute it. So because I didn't know any better, I was living with chronic fatigue syndrome. I was working and studying at the same time, managing, living and my household and all of that sort of stuff. And then I get to exam time, and I just added on top of that. I didn't take anything away. I didn't do anything differently. I just had less sleep, more work, more pressure, more stress. And I absolutely, on more than one occasion, crashed before I got to the end of that period. So I didn't make it to the end. And so there's a whole lot of complexity that you fall into when that happens. You have to change a whole lot of things. So if I'd prepared myself and thought about the whole situation differently, then I would have saved that crash, because it is possible to go through that intense period of time. It is possible to get through it, and you have to hustle. You do have to do that, right? But it's possible to get through without the crash, but you do have to do things differently, and you have to prepare for it in advance.
So tell me, how do we do that? How do we push hard for that period of time? Because this is exactly what you're talking about, is exactly what all of my students are going through right now. It's like, we have to push. There is no way we can't hustle. There is no way that everything is going to remain the same. And I'm going to put GAMSAT on top of this. How do they do it without, like, to sustain the, because it's a short period of time. Like they say without burning out, but it's not really even about not burning out. It's about doing it until the GAMSAT, whether GAMSAT is this September or March. It is a short period in our lives. How do we do it?
Yeah, because you want to be able to do it as a sprint and then be like alive on the other side, you know?
Yeah.
Like you want to make it through and not fall in a heap on the other side, or fall in a heap before you actually get through that process. And
I
so,
don't even mind falling in a heap after the exam. My scare is that I don't want the students to fall in a heap 2 weeks before the GAMSAT and burn like too quickly.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to fall in a heap afterwards. So I'm just going to sort of set that up. But
Good to know. Good to know.
but
Good to know.
you do find, you know, obviously you go through an intense period, and often you'll end up with a cold or something like that afterwards. That's not abnormal. So that may still happen, but you don't want to have such a big crash that you're literally bedridden for like months or weeks afterwards.
No one wants that.
No. And so the preparation starts early, and you need to think about financial, physical, like all of the life things that you've got going on. You want to start preparing for that season in advance. So let's start with some of the simple things. You know that you already know the time. So the good thing is, you know when that's coming, you know the time, you can't change that. Like that's locked in. And so you're working towards that date. And so one of the things I want you to think about is, when you get to the really intense period that you're going to go through, whether that's weeks or months, have prepared. How do I make sure I've got pre-made meal service happening? I've maybe got a cleaner in. Maybe I have organized carpool for that time for the kids, right? Because you're juggling drop-offs and pickups and training and things like that. So how for that period? And don't be afraid to ask for that help, because you feel guilty asking for the help. Like, you need to drop the guilt of asking for help as well. You need to build in these mechanisms, but start early. Have planned them early. And sometimes this is also a financial impact. So plan for that early. Have thought about, okay, it's maybe going to cost me a little bit more. How can I make sure I can budget for that, and that's available to me at this period in time? Because it might cost you a little bit extra to pay for meals, or you need to bring in a cleaner, or sometimes I stick my kids in an Uber to get them to training because I can't get there for them. And so like those sorts of things, you want to kind of prepare. How is that going to happen? So that advanced preparation, which you're doing anyway, right? You're already preparing yourself. So you want to add in some life preparation on top of that. And then there's like, you know, we all know about, we should be meditating and we should be like mindful and doing all these sorts of things. And we should have a sleep routine and a wind down routine. And yes, they're all good life skills anyway. But at this point in time, when you're going through that intense period, you need to have a little kind of toolkit of those things to go to, because you want to make sure that you're not learning a new sleep routine, or you're not learning a wind down routine, or doing a digital detox and doing that for the first time to make sure you can get through your GAMSAT study appropriately. At that time, you want to have kind of weaned yourself off that or worked your way up to it. So it is about preparing yourself in that way. And
can I just tell you, in the boot camp, in the mindset acceleration classes, so they're like our live classes just for our boot camp members, right at the beginning, so they usually go anywhere from 9 to 10 weeks before the GAMSAT. Right at the beginning, I have a whole module on sleep routines, because I tell you, I've been doing this almost 20 years, so 19 years I've been helping people get in, and I cannot tell you how many people the week of the GAMSAT are so riddled with like anxiety and just like, I can't sleep. And I'm like, you can't fix that the week before the GAMSAT.
Too
You
late.
have to have a good sleep routine and you work your way into it. The
Yeah.
9 or 10 weeks, that routine, that sleep routine that you foster now, you don't actually feel the benefit until it's the week before the GAMSAT. And it's so easy to like, it's not about, I think at this kind of hustle point in the GAMSAT, it's not necessarily about I have to have this amount of sleep every day, because that's going to fluctuate. There are going to be days that you might miss a little bit of sleep, but it's about the habit of how you get to sleep that I think is just as important, and that affects the quality. I am so with you there. I'm like, it
And I'm
is
so glad you teach that.
unsexy. It's
Yeah.
so unsexy. No one wants to do it. Right?
I know, right? It's so unsexy, but you're like, for like, like you said, for 9 weeks, if you can work on this for 9 weeks, then it's habit by the time you get there. You've learned it. Your body knows how to respond to it. It understands the triggers. And there's some studies that show you can kind of build up a sleep buffer as well. So if you can also somehow get a little bit of extra sleep in the lead up, it actually allows you to push through a little bit more when you're going to have less sleep in that period of time. So
like a bank.
Yeah, you have a sleep bank. Exactly. Right. And so if you can do that a little bit as well, that's a little extra thing that you can add in there as well. And because sleep is one of the things that we sacrifice at this time, right? So we sacrifice, we go down to 4 hours. I absolutely used to, that's exactly what I would do. I would go from, I was never a great sleeper, but not a large amount of sleep in the first place, to like 3-4 hours. I'd be in the labs till 4 a.m. and then I'd get up and go to work the next day. And in hindsight, especially in my undergrad, I went to uni as a mature ed student, and those people, they didn't have to get up the next morning and go to work like I did. So they were all fine being in the labs till 4 a.m., but I wasn't. And so you can't sort of compare what's going on for you to other people as well. You need to really think about what is going to work for you and your lifestyle and what's going on in your life at that point in time as well.
None of it kind of feels fair. I gotta like mention it because like everybody's in a little bit of a different situation. We've got, a lot of nurses that are doing shift work. Maybe they live at home. Maybe they live out of home. Even that kind of living at home and having maybe supportive parents, or living at home and then having responsibilities of other children. This is so normal. That's like, they're not even my kids. That's my brother, but I've got to take him to soccer practice. It's like sitting down and having the conversation with everybody and going, okay, this is what the priority actually is. Like the next 9 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 months, like whatever it is, I have to have these things in place. And talking about that mental load, and I think the analogy of juggling with balls to juggling with like flames and knives is so good, because I don't think I've even thought about it like that. Like, you're not adding an extra ball.
No,
You're really not. But having the conversation with the people that could support you, and like, yeah, it would be great if all our husbands and wives and kids were really understanding and stuff. They're probably not. Like, let's face it. But also understanding that no one's going to look after you. You need to ask for what you need and advocate for yourself. And, maybe maybe you live with your parents and are not understanding that you can't do stuff. Well, guess what? You need to advocate. You need to stand up for yourself and say, this is what I need. Or replace parents with husbands or colleagues or whatever. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And speaking of colleagues, that's another thing that we often don't even think about. If we are working at that point in time, how can we take leave in the really intense period of time or reduce our hours? And so that, again, is that financial planning. So that can happen at that point in time. I didn't even think about taking leave. Like, I took the exam hours off, but I didn't take leave in preparation to give myself any capacity to absorb. Like, you're taking in a whole lot of information, which is tiring in itself. You're on less sleep. You are in a high stress situation. And so that's when that analogy of the juggling the knives and the flames from balls is because the pressure and the stress is different, right? It's not the same as normal pressure and stress. And so it actually consumes a large amount of your energy. And you need to think of it that way, that you're not just adding like a little bit in on top. It's actually taking up a whole lot more of your energy bank than just normal life is going to. And so where else can you scale things back to give yourself a little bit more energy budget? Don't go and try and train for a marathon at the same time that you're doing GAMSAT.
Oh my God, you have no idea how many people do this. Like, they're like, I have this massive big life goal, but I'm also going to tackle the other most challenging thing I've ever done in my life.
Like, so I recently joined a new business coaching program. And on the first introduction session you have with the coach, they say do's and don'ts. And one of the things they say you're not allowed to do while you're in the program is start 75 hard. They're like, you are not allowed to start 75 hard. So the people that aren't familiar with 75 hard, it's this challenge basically for 75 days, and you have to do all of these things every day. And it's a personal development thing, but it takes extra time, and it's hard. And sometimes you go for a walk at 11 o'clock at night in 2 degrees. And so that's not conducive to growing your business in some ways. And so they're like, don't do it, and so don't add on an extra challenge. Like, make GAMSAT the challenge, like
it is the challenge.
Yeah,
it is.
But that's it.
I have this concept, Lou. I call it procrastinating. So it's like when you've got like two things that you have to do, like say you're undergrad and you GAMSAT, and your undergrad exams are coming up, so you go all in with GAMSAT.
Yeah.
And then your GAMSAT exams are in, and then you're like, no, I need to focus on my undergrad at this point. It's procrastination, but it looks like it's useful.
Yeah.
Procrastinating. But I feel like so many people do this, but, replace the word studying with whatever else. Oh, I'm training for this marathon, or I'm, got this brand new diet that I have to do right now, to add to this like mental load and pressure. But it's almost like a different form of like procrastination.
Definitely. Yeah.
But it
100%.
feels productive. Like,
yeah, it's the thing. Like, so you cleaning your house feels productive, but it's procrastination. And sometimes, look, sometimes you need to take a 10-minute break and focusing on something else, like deep cleaning the toilet, whatever it is you feel like is necessary right now.
In the car, Bella used to, my tutor was always like, I had to wash the car.
I had to I'm sure I had to clean the leather couch, like those sorts of things, which takes hours. The leather couch. Oh, I'm sitting. It needs to clean. Off I go, and you're like, and then 3 hours later, I haven't studied. So it's about being mindful of that procrastination, and then sometimes it's you get to that point where you're like, I just really think I need a nap, and that's for me sometimes is the sign that maybe you've got yourself to a bit of overwhelm, and it's actually a procrastinate, not an actual nap. And so it's kind of also being able to determine and be really aware that it's a procrastination study versus, it's actually where I should be focusing my time. So that does take a lot of awareness and practice, I suppose, to get to that point.
I've got a good question for you. Everybody's under pressure. Okay, there's this extreme pressure with the GAMSAT, which is normal. Like, if anyone listening here isn't feeling some pressure, you're probably not doing it right, okay? Pressure is normal. But how do you know when you actually need to push through, or whether your body is actually telling you, no, you need to stop? How do you know?
Yeah. So I think it does come back to reading yourself. And so I would start trying to do that early in the process. It's part of that 9-week journey. Start kind of going, because you'll start procrastinating early, right? Because in the beginning, you've got to study and you've got to prepare, and you're like, I don't really want to. And so you'll start to kind of feel what it feels like when you're procrastinating versus you're actually really tired. But there's a few signs. So if you've overdone it, sometimes it's very obvious. You don't want to get to the point where it's obvious, because normally you'll get to the point I'm so exhausted, I actually feel nauseous, I'm dizzy, I actually can't even concentrate anymore. But sometimes it's just overwhelm, you kind of just got to that point of overwhelm and you're not sure whether it's exhaustion or I'm just feeling overwhelmed and I do need to find a way to push through. Like, I feel like that's often kind of where people get to at that point. And so I want you to ask just start asking yourself really good questions. And I know this seems a bit silly, but sit down with your Chat GPT or your Claude and just say, this is what I'm feeling right now. Can you ask me some questions so I can determine whether I should push through or my body's telling me to stop? And then and it'll ask you things like, are you feeling overwhelmed right now? Like, is that actually the feeling that you have right now? Like, that's the first question. And just sit with it, like ask yourself the questions. And then sort of go, if I was to stop for 10 minutes, would that make a difference? And so there's like a process that I ask my clients to go through. And sometimes I ask them to go through this just to see if they can decide whether they should be stopping or whether they can push through, because a lot of my clients do have chronic fatigue as well. And so they get to the end of the day and like, I've been working all day and now I've got to do my life. I've got to do the kids, I've got to do the kitchen and whatnot. And I don't know if I can do it. And sometimes they can't do it and they need to make a decision. And so the process I ask them to go through is to sit with no stimulation for 10 minutes. Just breathe.
That, like, real talk, that's actually pretty hard for most people. Just
No
Netflix, no emails, no social media, nothing.
Nothing. You don't get to it's not I'm having a break and I'm going to watch a show for 10 minutes. You have to sit with yourself for 10 minutes and just breathe and allow the thoughts to come. We're not fighting thoughts. This isn't a clear mind meditation. Allow the thoughts to come, let them come. And then normally by the end of the 10 minutes, sometimes it takes 15, you kind of have moments of quiet and it's allowed your nervous system to reset. You can do breathing, like if that works for you, do breathing, but normally your breathing will become regulated, you'll become calmer. And the important thing is the no stimulation. Don't put on some meditative music. I mean nothing, right? And so sometimes I do this, like I remember once I was getting my nails done. I showed up at the nail salon and I'm like, I'm going to do this because normally I'll put on an audiobook or something like that. And I just sat there and just got my nails done. And by the end of it was only probably 15 minutes in, I'm like, I feel so much more refreshed because I had to go to an event that night. I'm like, I think I can actually come at it now. Like, I think I can do it. But if you get to the end of that period of time and you're like, no, I'm actually done, that's a really good sign that you need to stop. And then the problem is people then stress about having to stop, right? They're like, I actually can't stop. My plan is to do another 2 hours tonight. If I don't do that, what am I going to do? And so the first thing you need to do is give yourself some clarity, because otherwise you're going to try and go and rest, but it's going to be going on in your mind, right? You're going to be stressing about it. And so I want you to go away and hopefully you have a plan. I'm hoping you have a plan at this point in time of like your intention.
All my students have a plan.
Great.
And anyone that's not my students without a plan and you need one, please reach out to the team because we can help create one over the phone for free. Book in a time with Nelson or myself. We'll help you. If you do not have a GAMSAT plan, this is the one thing you need to get out of the podcast. You need to know what you're doing every single day.
Yeah, because that plan is your guide of what you should be doing, but it's also like a GPS, right? So you're on Google Maps and you've got your little line and then you need to take a detour because today you just have to give yourself some rest. That's okay. Google Maps will reset. And so that's what you just need to do. You need to do a little reset. So review tomorrow's plan, maybe the next 3 days plan and go, okay, what can I adjust? Can I, just do an extra day, an hour a day on 2 other days instead, and I'll make up the time that I've lost today. Can I not do that meeting tomorrow and I can do this study instead? Like, what can you not do to replace this? Can I tomorrow, because I'm feeling exhausted today and I've got a HIIT class in the morning, can I make it yoga instead? Because the amount of, and I know it's physical energy, but it's all energy consumption. That's going to take a little bit more out of me. I need to recover more. I'm going to change tomorrow my exercise schedule. Like, people don't sort of think about that. The intensity of your exercise also counts. And so it takes longer to recover. The session itself is harder. and like we talked about, don't be running a marathon at the same time. And so where can you shift and adjust and realign that plan? And so then you get back on the blue line on the map, and so do that in that moment, because it removes the overwhelm and gives you certainty of what's going to happen next. And remind yourself that taking that break will mean that you're more productive tomorrow. Because if you had continued to push through to the point where you do get to the dizziness, the nausea, the shaking, like all of those symptoms, tomorrow you may be absolutely out and not be able to do anything you were meant to do tomorrow. And so I just want to circle back on the questions though. So there's sort of 3 questions that I would ask myself, and maybe you ask yourself while you're taking the 10 minutes. Am I actually feeling overwhelmed right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Do I feel like I could get through the things I need to do in the time that I've given myself? Because it's the time factor, right? That is the stress. It's the pressure of the time, and you're constrained by how much you can do in that time. And am I starting to feel uncertain about my ability to be successful, right? Because when you get to that panic mode,
failure, oh my God.
yeah,
It's like, what's the point of investing the next 2 hours? Because I don't think that I'm going to nail this physics topic anyway, because I'm an idiot, because I never get physics. And then it's like this spiral that happens, and it's actually got nothing to do with your ability.
No, exactly. So if you're starting to question, why am I bothering? Because I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to get it done. I'm not going to fit the hours in. I'm tired. If you're starting to question those things, and you sort of give yourself a scale of 1 to 10, if they're kind of on the higher side, then that's kind of a sign that it's maybe your panic and your overwhelm that's creating this situation. And maybe you can push through. You need to take the time out to reset, take the 10 minutes, which feels like an eternity. I'm just going to tell you, it feels like an eternity. 1, because you're like, holy shit, I need to be doing something else right now. But also because I'm asking you to sit in silence with yourself. And then do that reset. Have a look. Is there something I can adjust tomorrow, the next day? Just give yourself that comfort. It's okay. I can still fit it all in, or I'm going to scale that back to 80%, not 100% of what I was going to do, because your brain likes certainty. And once you give it that level of certainty, you start to kind of come down a little bit off the ledge, and you can just make that distinction. Okay, I was just going into panic mode. It's okay. I can do another hour. I've reset. I can do another hour. Or no, I really need to, my body is really telling me, just go to sleep, just go have a sleep, and tomorrow's another day.
I so wonder sometimes how much of it is just our internal chatter about what we believe is possible, and also the I don't know, I see this all the time. It's like the hours you're putting in versus the progress that people think that they should be making versus what it actually takes to get some progress. Because, I mean, I wish that progress was like this line that was just like a graph that was straight up and, I just do this and then this happens. But life just doesn't work that way. Sometimes you're in this difficult thing that you're trying to make progress with, and the progress doesn't come as easy as you want. And then that's when the 10 minutes, it feels like to me, I'm maybe projecting, right? For them, but it's really you just talking to me, aren't you? But I'm I feel like that 10 minutes will be me actually saying, no, am I just resisting the thing because it's hard? And I don't, hard things are hard to do for a reason. And if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And I think, the self-talk around taking yourself off the ledge, going, but I can do hard things. I've done harder things than this before.
Yeah. And sometimes it is you're allowing yourself to do the self-talk. That's why you take that time out. You don't try and stop the thoughts. You allow the thoughts to come. And sometimes you answer your own questions just in that moment, right? And so you just answer your own questions, or sometimes you get to the end and you've talked yourself through it. You might not have answered the question, but you've talked yourself out. The chatter's slowed down or it's stopped. And so, but also, to be real, if you are in a full panic, because I've 100% been in a full panic at exam time before, my friends are like, it's just an exam, man, just calm down. I'm like, oh, you don't understand. It's not, You know, like, it's not just an exam. I've got to get a high function and like all those things, you know, like, and so you have all this pressure on yourself, the world, everything, like your professors and whatnot. And so it's a lot. And so it's possible that you are in a panic attack as well over everything. And so don't underplay it, and find, obviously in the lead up, have kind of some techniques when you get yourself into that state, because a lot of us, all of us have probably been there. If you've done a uni degree and you haven't had a bit of a panic at some stage, I don't know what's going on with you.
Real talk. That is
Yeah.
actual real talk.
Like, yeah. And I've been there more than once. And because if you're doing the GAMSAT, you're not someone that is happy with just cruising through. Like, people don't do the GAMSAT because they, you know, are happy to just pass, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
take
that's
what
not,
life gives them. No, the high achievers,
they're
the
high
people that I'm
achievers, right?
working with, they want everything. They don't want part of their life. They want everything. Their whole life, they want it full, and they're loving, giving, amazing people. You know, the funny thing that I think, Lou, it's like, you know, Nurses Doing GAMSAT, we specifically help nurses, but we also have ambos and physios and pharmacists. And like, I think about my ambos, for example. It's
Yeah.
like their job is life and death.
Oh my God.
Like, literally, at least once a week, they're meeting someone that's not going to make it, you know. And I think that doesn't stress them out. Like, this exam stresses them out. And it's like so funny about how we kind of get used to, and we kind of expand our comfort zone. So
Yeah.
I'm sure when my ambos first, you know, when they're doing their prac and they're in an ambulance for the first time, their heart is beating and they're like, you know, palms are sweaty and all the things that happen. But then eventually, like, you know, 6 years down the line, it's like, yeah, we've got someone who's had a heart attack. You got to go and resuscitate them, and they just like cruise on in, like that's an everyday thing. But same thing with exams. We just have to expand ourselves to be able to cope with what is going on. Which actually, this leads me probably to like my last question, unless there's like more that you want to. I could talk to you all day.
Well,
To
I
be
was
honest,
just going to say quickly on that one, that expansion, what you're talking about. Yes, it's like having learn over the years and over the lead up as well. Like, but over your years of study, you'll learn different things that work for yourself. So make sure that you are doing that for starters, but don't forget that that example of the ambos, it becomes part of their job. It does become everyday life, that stress. Exam time is always exam time. It is always knives and flames. It's you know what I mean? Like, it's never going to be another orange ball, because it's just the nature of that season, and you can't change that, but you can change the way you go into it each time. You don't just go into it blindly, kind of going, let's just add this on the list, you know? Like, you want to just really
give me another flame.
Yeah,
Just like, another flame.
I'm good, but you know,
I've already got 7 flames here. Just add another one.
Achievers. I'm talking to a bunch of high achievers here, but come on, guys. So I think like that's really important, just to remember that it's always going to be an intense time, no matter how much you go, how many degrees you do, and how many times you go through the season. It's always going to be an intense time.
So then tell me, what does like sustainable high performance actually look like? Like, how do we do, like, what does that look like?
Yeah. And I think we've talked about a lot of those things already. To be sustainably high performing, you need to be very self-aware as well, so that you can flex and adjust as you need to, because life happens around you, things go up and down, family members get sick, you know, people lose a job, whatever, like the stress levels and the things that happen in your life go up and down. And so becoming really self-aware and flexible with adjusting things based on a base of consistency. So, you know, I think consistency in any time, any successful person will tell you that consistency is key. And so to have that sustainable success, it's having practices in place that enable you to sustain life, and that those things that can flex up and down. And it can be the habit. So make sure that you've learned sleep habit. And the consistency falls away, you bring it back in. But if you've actually learnt these different habits and techniques, you can draw on them at the right points in time, you know? So nobody sticks, I mean, maybe Dr. Tom, he might stick to everything.
He really does. He's really consistent.
Consistency, I'll give him that. But, you know, most people they'll go up and down with their consistency. But if you have an intention to be consistent, that allows those things to be sustainable. You know, obviously having good life practices in place are good, but don't make sure you have fun. Like, make sure, I'm not saying don't have all the fun and things like that, but I think it's really about that willingness to adjust as well. Like, if you hold firm and you're like, no, this is what I do every day, I always do this and I always do this at 8 a.m. and then the big bang comes, like GAMSAT appears, and you're like, and you're not flexible, then your performance will drop, because all you've done is added and added and added, and you're not willing to kind of flex down a little bit in that period of time. Your performance will drop, which is even worse, you know, but then you risk getting to a crash at the end or before you reach the end, which is even worse. So I think that willingness to be flexible, listening to your body, practicing listening to your body, and putting consistent practices in place that you know serve you. And everyone's individual. We've talked about a couple of things, but everyone is individual. What works for you won't work for me, you know. Some people love meditation, some people hate it, you know, and so breathing works for them instead. Going for a walk works for somebody else. Like, there's a whole lot of different things that you can trial and test, but actually bother to do it, I think, is the main thing.
Yeah, I think about Tom when he was in medical school, and he had such a routine. So, like, basically 9 to 5, he was in med. Like, it was like it's a full-time job. And every night there would be homework that he needed to complete by the end of the week. And he just had this routine where he was like, I know I get up at 6 and I go to bed at midnight. I was training at the time I was exercising quite a lot. I'd do like a 5 or 5:30 a.m. boot camp. I might leave the house at 5 and be at the gym by 5:30. And so, like, I would do some things like we had like a routine. I would cook all of our food every night. I was the chef, but every night he was the person cleaning up, which, let's face it, it's the easier one. Yeah. But I would go to bed a little bit earlier. So we would like have dinner together every night. I would go to my full-time job. He would go to what basically was his full-time job. He'd, between 5 and 7, maybe go to the gym or study or whatever. And then I would go to bed really early at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. But he would then, from 9 o'clock to midnight, either be building, it was past GAMSAT back then, but Thank Flip, what we call Thank Flip now, or be studying. Every Saturday was his catch-up day on whatever he didn't get to during the week, and the whole day was out. He would be out studying, working on the business, whatever it was, and then on Sunday he was like, that's my day of rest. I don't study. I don't, like, we would spend time together on a Sunday. We'd always have dinner together, so we'd see each other every day, but like that consistency for him, I think it just got him through med school. Like,
100%. And
built a business at the same time. I love that
catch up. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Let's do that. But,
just flames and knives. That's just
all good. But that buffer as well is actually a really important day to have. I think if we've got our 5 days and then we don't have like that catch up day, then world can become really overwhelming, because then we catch up on the day that we need to be resting or spending with our family or doing the fun stuff, which keeps us going. And so we don't want to sacrifice that stuff because we kind of didn't plan the rest of the week appropriately. So I think that was a really important kind of lesson, I suppose, for everyone listening. Give yourself that catch-up buffer, because you will need it, because life happens and stuff takes longer than you expect it to, and all of that kind of stuff. If you give yourself that catch-up buffer and use it appropriately, and don't procrastinate in that buffer, because it's
hard. He's definitely not a procrastinator. That's one thing we're going to give to him. He doesn't procrastinate. No. But maybe that's because he has the buffer. Like,
Well, yeah, like he knows it's there and it's a bit of a safety net. You know, when you kind of, if you don't have a buffer and you start to fall behind, you're like, when am I going to catch up? You know,
yeah.
and that becomes an extra load on your shoulders. No, you go, I'm going to catch up on Saturday. Like it's already there for me, you know? So I love that. I think that's a really good system to put in place as well.
I mean, med school is a lot. He would tell me all the time, like, what I used to do in my undergrad in months, we would do every week in med school. And then the next week you back it up with another month's worth of work and the next week. And it's just like, so that Saturday actually allowed him to actually learn the things that maybe, and his other thing was attend every class live. And so if I have any boot camp members that are listening to this now, do not plan on not coming to the live classes. When you're doing it live, it's done. We do together. Our live classes, you don't leave with more homework, you leave with the work done in class with us.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are like, I'll just catch up on the recording later, and then they never do.
You don't, yeah. Or
You
it's
don't.
not the same because you might listen to the recording while you're doing something else, so you don't do the work and it's not as effective. So yeah, that's a great one as well. Definitely.
And
in the
sharing.
time it's meant to be done, do the thing.
Yeah, do it. Do it if you can. Oh, I've loved everything. Oh my God, I could talk to you for like days. Is there any last nugget of gold you want to leave everyone with?
Last nugget of gold. Well, I think the main thing is success doesn't have to mean sacrificing your well-being. Because a lot of people think I have to push through and I'll deal with on the other side, you know, I'll deal with the crash on the other side. I don't think it requires that crash. I don't think it means sacrificing yourself. It requires changing how you approach those demanding periods and going in with a plan, not just for your study, but for your life wrapped around that period of time so that you can scale things up and down. And so it feels like a little bit of a sacrifice maybe in that period, but it's not sacrificing the important things, right? So you can choose the important things. Don't sacrifice the time with your family on the Sunday or whatever it is, so that you also aren't sacrificing time with them at the end because you've crashed. So I really want to change this mindset that success means a hustle and then a crash, you know, and it means sacrificing. It doesn't mean sacrificing. It just means doing things a little bit differently, which is why I have the new rules method. It's like the new rules are what the old rules didn't work. So what are the new rules so that you can actually get through this period without sacrificing yourself?
Thank you so much for sharing everything. This has been, I know you're changing lives here, and I that's not an understatement. You're literally changing lives here. So I really appreciate everything you've done, and you spending your time. You could spend your time anywhere else. So I really, really do appreciate that. If anyone wants to follow you, Lou, where can they find more about you?
Yeah, I mean, you can just find me on Facebook. Is probably a great place to track me down, Louise Ledbrook. Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on all the socials. So yeah, I'd love to connect with you, and I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a great chat. I love talking about this stuff, so thank you.
I love it. Well, everybody who's listening, how about in the show notes, we link some of the social media profiles for Louise Ledbrook so you can follow along, not only with her journey, but how she's personally going through what you guys are going through in a different way, because, you know, we've all got different challenges, but let's face it, the hustle and grind is real. It's real no matter what the circumstance is. I appreciate you. Thank you. And everybody out there, enjoy your day. Have a good one. Bye for now. Hey, I have a cool gift for you, just for listening to the Nurses Doing GAMSAT podcast. We do some of our best work in our Facebook group called, you guessed it, Nurses Doing GAMSAT. It's free to join, and every day we're sharing actionable guides, tips and tricks, and really just how to smash the exam and get into medicine. You can join today by searching Nurses Doing GAMSAT on Facebook. Thanks for listening to another episode, and I'll see you next time.